Look at the light. Chapter 1. The Silence of the Mountain. Winter had fallen heavy over the mountains of Colorado, like a thick, cold blanket resting on the earth. Snow-covered pine trees embraced the deep silence, interrupted only by the occasional call of a distant bird or the rustle of some animal's paws in the snow. The pale winter sun, struggling behind the gray clouds, barely cast enough light to warm the world, like the weak flame of a dying candle. A gentle breeze moved the branches, and a row of crows shrieked briefly before disappearing into the cold sky. Clay Brenner, a middle-aged man with a gray beard and hollow eyes, pressed his worn leather boots into the snow as he made his way through the trees. His old hunting rifle was gripped tightly in his hands, his fingers red from the cold, yet steady and assured. The air smelled of damp wood, frost, and the lingering traces of the fire from the night before. He checked the traps he had set the day before. Rabbit, fox, or maybe something worse. Each step he took cracked the snow beneath him, leaving fresh footprints that had to be erased before nightfall. His small cabin, nestled deep in the mountains, was a remote place, devoid of sound or human light. The windows were covered with blankets, the chimney carefully stoked to give warmth without drawing attention. In a world where the scent of humanity attracted danger, silence and darkness were vital for survival. Inside the cabin, it was cold and still, with shelves full of canned goods, a rifle hanging on the wall, and a calendar that hadn't been updated in years. As Clay turned to head back to his cabin, a sound broke the quiet. An unnatural noise. A short, sharp scream. Human, perhaps female. Something stirred deep within him, something forgotten. Was it concern? Compassion? He didn't know. He ran faster, raising his rifle, and moved toward the source of the sound. Through the fog, he saw two half-human creatures with decaying skin, lifeless eyes, and jerky, twitching movements, chasing a young girl. She had a dirt-streaked face, tangled hair, and torn clothes, screaming for help. Clay fired without hesitation. The shot echoed across the mountains, and one of the creatures collapsed with a muffled thud. The other turned and growled, but the second shot sent it falling beside its companion. The girl lay on the ground, her knees bloodied, gasping for breath, her eyes wide with fear. Clay lowered his rifle. "Are you all right? Did they bite you?" The girl shook her head. "No. I just fell." Clay glanced around. They had to leave. He cleared the snow from the bodies and helped her to her feet. "Get up, quick!" She hesitated, but stood. Her breath was shallow, each inhale breaking the silence of the snow. Clay guided her toward the cabin. He closed the door behind them, locked it, and for the first time in a long while, the silence of his cabin was broken. This is where the story begins. Chapter 2. The Girl with a Map in Her Pocket. The next morning, by the small fireplace that was the only source of heat in the cabin, Clay sat. A metal kettle bubbled quietly on the fire, filling the air with the sharp smell of bitter tea. The girl still sat on the worn couch, deeply quiet, scanning the empty cabin as though searching for something from its past. Clay, his dark, tired eyes fixed on the fire, turned his gaze toward her. "What's your name?" The girl answered slowly, as though her words didn't quite belong to this broken world. "May." "How old are you?" 13, I think." Clay looked down at her wounded leg, now wrapped in makeshift bandages. The pain was clear in her eyes. "And what were you doing in the middle of all this snow and wilderness?" May, her eyes still full of fear and pain, reached into her pocket. She pulled out a crumpled piece of paper and placed it on the table. It was an old, torn map. As she unfolded it, the lines seemed jumbled and unreadable from years of wear, but two red dots, one near the top and another slightly lower, caught Clay's attention. "They said there's a town there. Haven Rock. There's a doctor, maybe a cure, maybe real people." Clay took the map, his gaze sharp and skeptical. "Who said?" A woman at our camp, before the raiders attacked. Clay paused, his mind drifting to the rumors he'd heard years ago. Towns that seemed like hidden paradises, only to be nothing more than ruins. And in that moment, the look in May's eyes, still full of hope, something like a will to survive, met Clay's. It had been years since he had seen such a look in anyone's eyes. Clay looked at the cabin wall, his voice low. "All right, we'll go. But remember, nothing in this world is like it used to be." May lifted her head, giving him a look that was full of gratitude and perhaps a little trust. Chapter 3. The Road North. Clay had always avoided travel. In this new world, there was no place for walking or wandering. The paths were filled with scars and dangers. But when he looked at May, something stirred inside him. This helpless, orphaned girl with her eyes full of hope, standing against all odds. They journeyed north. The roads, once filled with the hum of traffic, were now graveyards of metal. They passed abandoned houses, stopping to rest by small, smoking fires in ruined buildings. One night, as they rested by an old gas station, they heard a scream. A human scream, not infected. Clay jumped to his feet, grabbed his rifle, and ran toward the sound. A group of raiders in military garb had been following them. Bullets whizzed past their heads, and Clay took a hit to the arm but kept running. He grabbed May, and together they disappeared into the darkness, out of the raiders' sight. Chapter 4. A Past That Won't Die. One night, after they had stopped to rest in one of the ruined homes, May asked Clay, "You had a family, didn't you?" Clay paused, his gaze fixed on the starry sky. Bitter, heavy memories of the last moments with his wife and daughter echoed in his mind, the deafening sound of their final moments still ringing in his ears. Clay's voice was hoarse. "A daughter. Her name was Alice. Her hair was like yours, her eyes bluer, and a woman who was my world. Her name was Jenna. That day, I was just a few minutes too late." May fell silent, only the sound of the crackling fire and the smoke rising into the air filling the stillness. After a moment, May spoke softly, her voice full of calm understanding. "Do you still live for them?" Clay placed his hand on his forehead. "No, I live for you, to see if, just maybe, there's something small worth saving." Chapter 5. Haven Rock. When they arrived, Haven Rock was like another world. Tall walls, bright lights, and guards who patrolled with military precision. The air inside the gates smelled of life. Doctors examined May, running tests. The results were clear. May was resilient, someone who could be the key to a cure. But Dr. Logan, an elderly and deeply serious man, looked at Clay and said, "We can make an antidote. But to do that, we need to take her brain. She won't survive." Clay looked away, his thoughts boiling with rage and fear. All he wanted was to save her. But to do that, he'd have to repeat the mistakes of the past. Chapter 6. The Escape. Clay made his decision. In the dead of night, he snuck into the facility. He bypassed the guards, reached the room where May was being kept. When he opened the door, May slowly opened her eyes. "I knew you'd come." Clay's voice was tight. "I won't let them kill you for a cure. But I won't let you die either. This is a damn choice." Together, they escaped, running through a hail of bullets and blood. They hijacked a truck, driving down a dark, unforgiving road westward. Chapter 7. After everything. Months passed. Clay and May now lived in a remote corner of Oregon. A small garden, chickens, and a silence that had become part of their lives. May sometimes asked Clay, "Did they ever say? Was the cure possible?" Clay, with a smile that could never erase his pain, would answer, "No, They said it wouldn't have worked. The end.